start off with how's your day? How's everyone day today? Well, mine is pretty on track, right? So I made a decision that I was gonna tackle my laundry today. So I have stuck with that. I'm continuing to fold clothes, so that's why um, I'm not on camera. So I thought about I would go on and let you know about a recent experience that I had today. A thought, maybe that's what I should say. So, I recently received a promotion, right? Let me clarify that I have a problem with self recognition. When things happen for me, I don't scream them out loud. I whisper my success. Right. So I respond from a place that was invoked in me as a child. Being in trauma recovery has opened my mind to so much. And a window of opportunity has been presented um, where I can realize when I'm operating from the space that was invoked in me early on in life. Right? So I consider this unintentional harm. I understand today that some of the things carried on was a form of abuse, flat out, right? Um, Being exposed to household violence, traumatic experiences at a very early age, right? Um, you know, Raised in a household where I was basically taught to not trust anyone in the world. I was constantly taught that the world is such an evil place and you got to always be on guard when you go out there. That didn't make sense to me as a child. I wasn't allowed to express that. And I drew my own interpretation. I didn't believe that all people were evil. I just didn't. Why, I don't know, but I just didn't. And from that, that's how I approached the world. But it's like I couldn't let my household know that. This was my little secret. And that's how I proceeded. I began making decisions at a very early age from what I was exposed to. I'm talking about my grandmama always cutting my granddaddy, blood shooting out everywhere. My mom and her mom fighting. Her, my mom, hitting her mom in the head with an iron skillet. in the bathtub. I was molested at a real early age where the guy just basically picked me up off the street, took me down in the alley, and attempted to have his way with me. I remember watching out of my bedroom window this young lady getting beat to death. I watched this from the time it started to the time it ended. And my heart was so saddened for her. And I recall the police detectives coming around asking questions. They came to our apartment because they seen the view of our apartment windows. And I remember my grandmama telling me, you don't tell them nothing. You didn't see nothing. So I learned early on that you don't talk to the police, right? Okay. So this just kind of go towards me learning while being in trauma recovery how I can still respond from that place today. Always being criticized, couldn't do nothing right. When I did, it was downplayed because, oh yeah, you did this, but later on you'll be doing something else for me to yell at you about, or something else for you to get a whooping about. I wasn't allowed to express happiness, sadness. It was, ain't nothing that funny. I don't know what you're laughing about. And because you're sad, I think you're mad, and I'm gonna give you something to be mad about. Constantly criticized. So again, when things happen that I should acknowledge and celebrate, I have a hard time doing that, right? I'm not always quick on my feet to realize it. I'm learning, but I ain't always quick on my feet, so there's more, right? There's more to be continued on that. So we have something at my job um, where we do our annual reviews, and with the work that I do, we are tracked by metrics. I'm sure a lot of us can identify, um, especially if you work in the customer service field. So our one-on-ones are every other week, and my last one-on-one where my supervisor meet, tell me what I'm good at, ain't good at, improve, that type of mess. But my annual review was done at that time too. So for January, I met metrics. February, March, I met metrics. But April wasn't doing so good. Yeah, I made a terrible mistake. Right. I learned from it. However, that decreased my metrics. So our job has introduced a program. I may tell the name right. Something about you stepping up the ladder, um, moving from one position to a higher position and to a higher position. And now this can be done without you competing with all of your other peers. That once that position is posted, 20 of you go on to apply for the position, but there's only two, right? So this new executive director say, you know what, let's try it this way. When the supervisors are seeing their reps doing what it is that they're supposed to do on a consistent basis, the supervisor will recommend you being moved up to a higher position only because you qualified, right? That's the only way that happens. If you're going to apply, you got to have the metrics to back that mess up. Real simple. But because I chose to focus on April scores, she asked me, did I want to apply for the higher position? I say, no. I'll wait till May and I'll start over so I can have the 3 consecutive months. She say, you sure? I say, yeah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm focused on this bad month of April. I can't see that there was 100 in January for me. There was a 95 in February for me. And in March, there was something like, I don't know, 92 or something, right? You always have to score above 90 or at 90, right? So I'm so screwed up to where I couldn't even acknowledge, right, that basically I'm well at holding my own. Because, yeah, I'm mentioning January, February, and March because it's a little bit closer attached to the story. But that's been my shit since I've been there. No write ups, no corrective action, no none of that. I do what the people tell me to do. Period. Shit. Because I need a job. But also, I like helping people. Right? It definitely does take me outside of myself. And one thing I learned from, you know, family is, you're not living if you're not helping others, right? Um, and I practice that in often ways, in a negative manner, right? Um, However, it's what I do. I'm learning to do things a little different, right? And focus more on the positive. The the overall picture, because that's what's important. Not a month where my score has been the latest it's ever been at an 80%. I disqualified myself from the position based on what I was doing now. Again, whispering my success. Hey, girl, the supervisor wanna recommend that I be moved up. Be careful in who I tell, because I'm afraid of somebody thinking I'm bragging. That's what my thinking is, right? But it's like, no, Leatrice, You are acknowledging an accomplishment. That's what you're doing. And it's okay to do that, right? But because I was always criticized, taught to not trust, it invoked self confidence, low self confidence. It invoked low self esteem. It caused me to go through life being exposed to unhealthy situations, but I was required to go out in society and practice the norms. How do I do that? How? How do I do that when all I'm exposed to is toxicity? I'm talking about, I already told you about some family episodes and you know, husband and wife fighting and fucking few minutes later y'all back cool and everything okay until the next situation occur. And then there's another violent outburst. And I'm supposed to go out in the world and do something different. So no, it brought about a naivety for me, right? I was naive because again, I told you the conflict was I don't see the world like that. But I could only do what I had seen done. So, coming up, getting into relationships, fussing and fighting was the behavior that was displayed. I do something horrible to you, you do something horrible to me, and we gonna sweep that under the rug and keep going. Yeah, that's what we gonna do. And you become accustomed, not even knowing, right, that that's what you're doing because I can't see from your perspective as an adult, as a 7-year old child. It's impossible. But it's the expectation. And I'm damned if I don't go do it. Right? Like, look, I can't win. I can't win. And this isn't what the world has taught me. This is what you're teaching me. Again, thinking that it's okay to criticize a child's every freaking move instead of focusing on their abilities. I mean, they are as simple as okay, I'm gonna use my son as example. Y'all know I got a 7-year old, and I'm learning a lot that I didn't know with the 32-year old, a 23-year old, and the now deceased would be 20-year old. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said so. My oldest son is 23. How? If I tell him to pick up something, clean the room, I go in there and he still got stuff on the floor. He picking up stuff one by one, taking it to the trash. And I think you should be able to evaluate the scene, see everything that is trash, pick that shit up at one time and go put it in the garbage. So because that's what I think as an adult, I'm going to place that expectation on you. Right? So that makes me become critical of you without even really realizing it. Okay, if it's gonna take you to do that shit one item at a time, go ahead and do it one item at a time, as long as they get done. Right? Accepting, and instead of allowing them to figure that out in life, because guess what? They're gonna learn that. I want to be where I can teach my child to trust his gut and intuition, because I believe that it's spirit led, right? Because you always get a feeling when something right or wrong. You do. Now, what you choose to do with it, something different. Um, so that's what I'm gonna do. You ask me a question. What does your gut tell you, TJ? Just think about it for a minute. What makes more sense? Now, I'm not saying this is an everyday occurrence, all day, because it ain't. But it's something that I've learned to implement. You see, I had to take a minute and focus on my abilities to get through. And only has trauma recovery put me in position to do so. So yeah, I faced plenty traumatic experiences in life. But losing my son is one of the most difficult, right? So it led me to ask, just teach me to live without him. And all of those things are being revealed to me. The things I got to see about, the things that I have to acknowledge. Right? And that process has taken me back to that little girl where all of the feelings were invoked. Not by the outside world, but by the people that profess to love and care about me. They set an example of what love and care look like. And it was all bad. And I'm out there in the world like, no, it can't be. So I look for the good in people and I hold on to that, right? It deflects me from looking at the good in me. So I'm learning. Yep, so I'm learning. It's like it's okay, right? Um, the supervisor coming to me, pointing out my high points, saying, I know that you're ready, calling me on my off day like, look, I think you should reconsider. I'm going to send you the form with the questions that you have to answer. Are you ready? And in that moment, I said yes. I was able to fill out that form. I had doubts of the manager, right? Doubts. Although I have supporting evidence by way of my character and my work abilities to support this promotion, I just knew she was going to find a way to deny it. But that's because of a prior incident that we had too, right? My supervisor say, look, she told me to give it to you for you to sign and fill out. I say, okay. So I did it, right? And it was pushed through, approved. So I'm waiting on finalization from HR. And accepting that I have earned, I have put in the work to be worthy of recommendation and suggested to promote. So again, because of things that were invoked in me as a child, I still carry that, nah, because every time I do something, I have a tendency to self-sabotage. Every time I achieve an accomplishment, it's not worthy because you're going to do something to sabotage that. And the struggle is not doing anything to self-sabotage that, right? It's a behavior that I've learned to identify and stay away from in most cases, right? Not all, but in most. So that's it, y'all. I am relishing in that and going to apply that worthiness, accept that I'm worthy. and continue to do what I do. Cause I don't put on the front. When I work, I work. I have a style. I follow it. I know what is required of me, so I do it. It don't mean stop doing it, but guess what? I can't because it's me. It's who I am. It's what I do, and it's okay. Thanks for your time today. Good day.